Hello.
Hi.
How
On
are
your
you?
video now, let me see your fine face before we get
second.
into. You're recording already?
Oh, no. Why is this on
It
recording?
said recording in progress.
Wait a second. Where's the Zoom, sir? Stop recording. All right. Welcome, everyone. We haven't had this in a while, so I'm quite excited about this. We haven't had a session like this for a while. So I want to welcome Miss Sarah Egbo, who will be talking to us about digital rights and online safety. I'll let Mrs. Miss Egbo is one of our mentors. I'm sure we all know who she is. I'll let her introduce herself. If she doesn't do justice to it, then I'll definitely read her profile. So over to you, Miss Egbo.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. You can read my profile anyways, whether I do justice to it or not. Okay, so good day, everyone. For those who are here who have joined, I really commend you, first off, for the fact that you decided to join in this session instead of doing something else. I really commend you for that. Just to begin with, my name is Sarah Egbo, as you might have already heard. I'm the policy lead at Gender Mobile Initiative. So Gender Mobile is a non-governmental NGO that provides and supports both institutions, individuals, and even other stakeholders like government stakeholders in interventions having to do with any form of gendered and sexual-based violence, especially as relates to young people. So I serve in the organization as the policy lead, or looking at how we can help situations having to do with sexual and gender-based violence in the policy capacity and also technology capacity as well. So I'll be taking us through digital rights. Pardon me for my title in the first instance. I just noticed that TFGBV is not here, but that's fine. So the session is on digital rights, TFGBV, which I will state what it means later on, and online safety. So first off, I am just going to proceed with the slides. I hope everyone can see my slides. If you cannot see my slides, please indicate so in the chat box, or in the chat box, so that we'll see how we can rectify that. So this is just the agenda, which I do not need to read out. I will just go straight into the next part. So we are going to be starting off with some icebreakers, icebreaker questions, just to set the mood for this session before we really go into it. I'm not sure how this is going to play out. I don't know. Okay, I think I'm just going to call out names and then ask the questions. I mean, there are lots of questions here. It might not be every question that we'll respond to, but well, good luck as I begin. So if you're seeing this screen, I just hope you have your questions prepared, and there could be brief responses, nothing too lengthy, nothing just to free yourself and set the mood for the session. So I'm going to start with the first question, and I'm going to call on Philomena Atang. So Philomena, what did you have for breakfast today?
I had pap this morning.
That's great. You had just pap, or pap with something else?
Okay, it was pap with beans.
Oh, wow, that's a very, very nutritious diet for this morning. Okay, great. So the next question goes to Onyeke Emmanuel. So Emmanuel, what's a random act of kindness you did for a stranger?
Okay, good afternoon, ma. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I think okay, random some time ago. Yes. Can you hear me?
We can't hear you.
Okay.
Like your something is, the network
Okay.
is not so certain.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes,
Hello?
it's better now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I said I helped with money. I helped a stranger with money some time ago. That was actually what I can remember. Yes.
Okay. Like, can you explain how you help the person with money?
Okay. I was on my way from the office, so while I was that was even I think some 2 weeks ago.
Emmanuel, we can't hear you.
Okay, can you? Hello.
Hi.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what's happening. Possibly it's my network. Yes. So I was on my way from the office while the person just approached me on the street. I think I was just, taking a walk to the bus stop, and the person was like, he's stranded. Yeah, I didn't have a fare to go back home when I was coming. So the money I had on me, because of course I was expecting a free bus, so I would not be paying for my fare home. So I just gave him the money. That was actually the incident that transpired. That was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks now, or some days.
Wow, that's great. Well done, and I hope we have more people like you. It doesn't have to be giving money to a stranger or someone that's stranded. I hope we get to show random acts of kindness for people we don't know. More importantly, without expecting anything in return. Okay, so moving on. The next question is to Abdul Khalid Salih. Khalid, so what's the most challenging thing you've done in life?
Hi, Sarah. Good afternoon. The most challenging thing I've done in my life is participating in CFA competition while I was an undergrad. So what made it challenging was it's a competition. We did what professionals were doing, and then we're just undergraduate students. And so it was lots of learning. And it wasn't easy. We had the time lag, time span to work and submit our reports. So for me, it has been the most challenging.
Okay, great. So just to follow up on that question,
Right.
if you were to go through that experience again, that challenging experience, would you want to go through it again, or you prefer to have something less challenging?
Yeah, I would definitely want to have something as challenging as it is, like that's coming in the future. I love challenges. It makes me grow.
Oh wow, that's great. Yes, it does make us grow. It's not pleasant, but it's impactful. All right, thank you. Okay, so next person up is Issa. So Issa, hello. Would like to know what's the most fun thing you did on a weekend.
Good afternoon. I think the most fun thing I did on a weekend was I actually played tennis. Although I don't know how to play that much, so I was playing with someone that was much better. It's challenging, but it was fun.
That's great. Sounds fun. I'm glad you had fun. All right, thank you. Okay, so the next person is Khadija Yusuf. So, Khadija, tell us, what is the most biggest fear that you've ever faced in life so far?
Good afternoon, Sarah.
Afternoon.
The biggest fear I've had in my life, like I've ever faced, is all my family, they all traveled. They left only me at home then. I think I was 15. So I was really scared then because I couldn't sleep throughout the night. For now, that's the biggest fear. I've ever faced.
Okay. So a follow-up on that question, why were you scared of being alone in the house? Were you scared of like strangers coming in? What exactly made you scared?
Yes, I was scared of strangers, and sometimes thieves do enter through the back to our house. So I was scared maybe anybody will come and do something to me.
Okay. And thankfully, I want to assume that that didn't happen for the period your family was away.
No, nothing like that happened.
Okay, all right. So, thank God, and thank you for informing us of that. So the next question goes to Irene Okoro. Hello, Irene. So we would like to know if you could pick only 3 foods to eat for a month, which of the foods would you choose?
Okay,
Just
good
3
afternoon, Sarah. Good afternoon,
Good
everybody.
afternoon. Afternoon.
I don't know why I was smiling because I don't know how that question got to me because I'm a foodie. Okay. I would pick rice and stew. I love rice and stew. Then noodles.
Okay.
And last one would be swallow and okra soup.
Wow. Interesting choice. Okay. Okay, so let's go over it again. What was the first one you said?
I said rice and stew first.
Okay, rice and stew. Okay. Then
Yeah.
what's the
Then
next one?
it would be, I said
Noodles. Yeah,
noodles.
you said noodles, right? Okay.
Yeah, did.
Mm.
Said
Then
swallow.
then swallow. Eba and okra soup.
Yes.
Okay. That's a balanced diet. Except I'm not sure about the noodles part, but for the rice and stew and okra and eba, that is a balanced diet on its own. So
Thank you.
that's good to know. Okay, so moving on, Shope Okuno, you're up next. So this question is for you. When you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Hi, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, I don't know how the question got to me, but when I was a child, I didn't want to be anything. I didn't have any ambition. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's the answer, basically. I didn't know what to be, but I think as I moved on, I just figured it out. I've not figured everything out, but I think it's making sense now. Yeah, I didn't want to be a doctor or anything like that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So you just wanted to play, eat, have fun.
Exactly. Yeah, just play
live the
with
classic
fun.
childhood life.
Exactly. And I'm trying to live in that kind of. I want to be a child for life or something.
I mean, we all have a child within us. Okay, so what was moving on? You said
okay.
So moving on from then,
Okay.
as you were growing up, what was the first thing you thought of becoming?
Oh, okay. I think after junior secondary school, I think the breaking point was probably choosing like classes in senior secondary school, like science, commercial, and art classes, something like that. So I think I knew that I couldn't do science basically because it was probably very difficult. Then art too, I wasn't so good. So commercial was like the thing for me. So from joining commercial class in SS1, SS2 and 3, I discovered I was good in probably accounting. Then what's it called? It influenced my decision for a course in the university, accounting. So that one I'm still following, and I think I'm enjoying it. So I think the breaking point was choosing a class in probably SS1, senior secondary school.
Okay, all right, great. That's good to know. It's good to know that you have a vision now and you're enjoying what you're doing. That's really good, and it's totally okay if you did not like dream of doing or being a kind of profession or person when you were growing up. That's
exactly.
very okay. Yeah.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
you're welcome. So I think I've covered everyone, but for our host himself, if there's anyone that is yet to Khalid, I can see you. If there's anyone that is yet to respond, please indicate so in the chat box so that I'll get to you. And even if you don't indicate, I'll eventually notice and then get back to you, no matter which part of the session we're in. So, Mr. Daytopia, your mentees are saying you have to answer a question. So I have to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question, and this question is not in the order that I've been going in. It's a different question, like totally different order. So for you, if all the superheroes went to battle against each other, who do you think you would win? Something like an Avengers Endgame kind of battle. Who do you think would win?
I think I love Thor. Because he's a god. I think the rest are like...
Is it because you love Thor?
I love Thor, yeah. I think it will be Thor. If he's really angry, though.
And if he has his armor, his hammer.
Yeah, if he has it, yeah. I think it will be man or the rest.
Okay. All right. Your mentees are saying, Thor. Okay. It seems like they have different opinions about that.
I think everyone will have a different opinion.
Yeah. All right, no problem.
I really enjoyed this icebreaker. It's really nice.
You're most welcome. So yeah, moving on from this, we can keep the conversations going in the chat box for time is of essence. So our next part now is something that I would like us to be aware of, to know about. It's not directly related to what I'm going to be speaking about, but at the same time, it's an important factor. And it's not just for this session, it's beyond this session. So as you can see on my screen, it's called the 5 W's and 1 H technique. And I tagged this as a life hack in the physical and virtual realms. So I don't know if any of you have been, or I believe all of us have been in a situation where we have something that we need to do, maybe an assignment or a kind of work that we need to do, and then we don't know how to go about it. So we begin to ask questions like, oh, how do I go about it? Who do I reach out to? Where can I get the sources from? When do I start? When do I finish? In fact, what's even the purpose? What's the why of doing this kind of task? So this is what's really conceptualizes that thinking, that criticism that goes on in our minds. So it's called the 5 W's. So 5 W's stands for the what, the who, the where, and the when, and why. And the 1 H stands for how. So this is essentially a kind of approach that one uses when they're trying to achieve something, perhaps something that is academic related or work related, career related, or even recreational activities. Like maybe you're planning for someone's party and you're like, oh, so what do I need to get to make this party happen? Who do I need to reach out to? Who are the vendors that I need to speak to? Where can I contact them on? Is it on online spaces, or is it that I have to go to their store physically? When do I even start these preparations? How soon can I start it? And also why are we even doing this party? Is it to celebrate the person? Is it just going to increase my profile? Like, oh, this person planned this party and it was an awesome party. Those kinds of questions. So in a way, we all practice all this, but we don't know that, okay, this is really what we're doing. We might not be aware of that. So like I said, this is what is termed as the 5 W's and 1 H technique. And this is really helpful. It's even much more helpful when you are conscious of this approach, like when you realize that, oh, this is what I do, and then you take advantage of that. because sometimes we have these assignments, we have these exams, we have all these tasks that we're doing, and we don't know how to go about it. But when you begin to question, like when you are reading an academic paper and they are asking you to do critical reading or writing, anything critical, just know that you need to find ways to answer these questions. You need to understand what is happening, what's the aim of the either the paper you're reading or the assignments you're doing. You need to understand who are the persons that wrote it. Imagine their backgrounds. Like, for instance, if you're reading a piece from a person that is in a university like you're like, okay, so is this person like in an undergraduate or a graduate student like me? Is this person a professor? Is this person is like, what's the level of this person? Where are they coming from? What's their social background like? If you can get a sense of that, I believe that will better help you understand what you're trying to deconstruct. And then the where as well is also important. Like, for instance, in the article we are reading or what you're doing, you're like, oh, where do I get my sources from? Or where is this write-up situated? Where is the story in this work that I'm reading situated? Where did it happen as well? Questions like that also like spark your interest to further like dig deep into what you're analyzing, and also makes you get a better understanding of things, and also the faster route to getting the answer. Then the when as well. This when is usually referring to the time frame. Like, when was this paper written? When was this activity done? When did it start? When did it end? What happened? Is also like, it also flows into that when question. Then why? Why is like really important, because for everything that you do, if you don't know the reason why it is being done, then it's not legit, or it's not something that you might really appreciate. Like, there's a popular saying by Dr. Miles Monroe that when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. So in other words, if you don't know why you're doing something, why you're reading something, why you're saying something, the purpose wouldn't be achieved, and there's a tendency for you to abuse it. And then all these W questions flow into the how. So when you finish deconstructing, when you finish analyzing, when you finish questioning the what, the who, the where, the when, and the why, this is where you now flow into the, okay, now I've like really dissected this matter. How do I go about it? How do I answer the questions? How do I like reach out to people that might be instrumental in me achieving the goals? How do I like see that I achieve the goals that are set out in the best possible ways? So these flow into the 1H factor. And then once you're able to get a hang of this, you can easily move from the concept or the problem to the solution. So I just wanted to share this with you. Also because it's a bedrock for this session that I'm going into. And you would see that as I flow into the session. And if there's any question having to do with either this particular part, that's the 5 Ws and 1H technique, or any of the parts that I'm talking about, any of the parts in this session I'm talking about, please draw that to my attention. So, okay, I'll just move on to the next one. And also, if I'm speaking too fast, please call that to my attention as well, because I tend to rap when I'm presenting too. Okay, excuse me. So as you can see, flowing from what I just spoken about, we have the what question that has come up. And this asks the first like critical questions in this session. So what are digital rights? And as you can see on the slides, that digital rights are rights closely linked to freedom of expression and privacy. And they're also rights that allow people to access, use, create, and publish digital media, as well as access and use computers and other electronic devices and communications networks. So digital rights are an extension of human rights for the internet age. So in summary, what this is just saying is that digital rights are human rights. You know how for human rights, you have the right to live, you have the right to freedom of expression, you have the right to acquire property, you have the right to do a lot of things. So think of that in the digital space as well. That is what digital rights essentially means. You able to exercise rights and privileges in the online space. Then moving on from that, we have the online safety. So online safety refers to the act, pardon me. Okay. Online safety refers to the act of staying safe online. It is also commonly known as internet safety, e-safety, and cyber safety. So just as in the physical space, we have to take measures to keep ourselves safe from let's say persons that want to harm us, or circumstances that wouldn't be beneficial to us. That is also the same for online safety, which is keeping oneself safe online. So moving on from that, we're still on the what factor. And this is also a third concept which is linked closely to the first two that I've explained. So this is what TFGBV means. It essentially means technology facilitated gender-based violence. So we might have heard about gender-based violence, and hopefully I hope to break it down more on gender-based violence in future. But first off, we're going to focus on the technology-related parts. And as you can see in the definition here, that is an action or series of actions by one or more people that harm others based on their sexual or gender identity. And not only is this act of violence carried out based on person's sex or gender identity, but they also reinforce harmful gender norms. So we might be aware of some gender norms that are already in existence. Like for instance, in some places, girls are not allowed to go to school simply for the fact that they are girls, and they will end up being in someone's home, or basically it's their own home, but they might end up being housewives taking care of the children and things like that. So for some families, they don't see the sense of sending the girl child to the school in the first place. So that's a kind of harmful gender norm, because it affects not just the girl because she's not able to achieve that which she can achieve, but also the family and the society and even the country at large, because it involves the ripple effects, right? Which we can discuss on much later. So bringing myself back to TFGBV, it's also based on actions that reinforce these kinds of harmful gender norms in the online space, and is also carried out through internet or technology channels. So our phones, our laptops, iPads, whatever it is that you're using to access the internet can also serve as a medium for facilitating TFGBV. And then it includes the acts of stalking, it includes bullying, it includes sexual harassment, defamation, hate speech, and exploitation. So that is what technology facilitated gender-based violence means. Okay, so I hope everyone can still see my screen. I have a screenshot here of this. This was posted on Twitter. As we all know, or at least most of us know, Twitter is a very, very interesting space. A lot of people call it toxic space, but I personally love Twitter, despite the issues that happen on the platform. Or yeah, it has its ills, as every other platform also has its ills. So this is a question for all of us to answer, to respond to. You could respond in the chat box, or you could unmute yourself or raise your hand and express yourself. Like this tweet you're saying now, is it a form of TFGBV, which is technology facilitated gender-based violence, or freedom of expression? Because you can recall that I mentioned that digital rights also includes things like freedom of expression online. So this person is expressing himself, right? He's not restricted from sharing his viewpoints. But at the same time, we might be seeing acts of technology and facilitated gender-based violence. So I'd like to know your thoughts on this. What do you think? Is it one or the other? Is it both? It will also be good to know why you think what you think. Okay, I can see, okay, Emmanuel had asked a question on the slides being shared after the meeting. Yes, sure, I can send the slides to Mr. Daytopia to have it shared afterwards. So don't worry about that. Irene said, oh, wow, that's hate speech. Okay. Philomena said Twitter is for violence as a comrade. Then Irene said that is DGBV. Okay, I think you meant to say TFGBV because that's the correct term. It is offering threats that hurting the other person's emotions or mental health. Totally agree with you. Philomena also said it is DGBV. Please, the correct term is TFGBV. So technology facilitated gender-based violence, because it's a form of gender-based violence, but because it is happening in the digital space or it's happening through technology devices, that's why we call it technology facilitated gender-based violence. Or you could also call it OGBV, which is online gender-based violence. So essentially forms of gender-based violence that happen in the online space. Okay, great. Okay. Philomena says, but people aren't seeing it as violence because baby is still small. Yeah, which is quite interesting. I agree with you. Some people just see it as oh, what could happen. I mean, the baby is small and it's just talking, it's just banter. Yeah, and the guy is just catching cruise. Okay, so we can keep the conversations going on in the chat. Let me move on to the next phase of this session. Okay, so moving on, and this is closely linked with the last slide that you just saw. Who are the kinds of people affected or at risk of TFGBV and need to be aware of their digital rights and online safety? So we have children and adults. So that links back to the statement on, oh, people might not see it as a form of TFGBV because the girl is still small, Simi's child is still a baby, so it's a harmless statement, nothing could happen to her. So this section addresses that and shows that it could happen to everybody and anybody. It could also happen to students and staff. It could happen to males, females, and persons of other genders. It could happen to people living with disabilities. It could happen to even people in high places, such as government officials and celebrities. In fact, as you can see on my last statement in this, on the last line in this particular slide, everyone on planet Earth is at risk of being affected by TFGBV. So it's not something that is restricted to one group. It's not something that affects just one gender or one class or a set of people. Everybody on this earth. Maybe if you're on Mars, where there's no internet for now, it might not reach you. But while you're in this planet Earth, it definitely would reach you, or you are at risk of experiencing it at a point in life. Okay, so moving on from there, you can see that I'm following through with the 5 W's and the 1 H technique. We've addressed the what, we've addressed the who. Now we're in the where and the where part of this slides. So where does this form of TFGBV happen? And also the concept of digital rights, which is what DR means, and online safety, which is OS. Where do these concepts apply? And the answer is simple: on the internet or cyberspace. And then also the question of when does it happen? And when does TFGBV happen? And when can we exercise digital rights and online safety? And the answer is also quite straightforward as well. At all times, you have to exercise your digital rights and also practice online safety, because TFGBV is not something that happens at certain times. It happens every time. It might not be happening to you every time, but right now, as we're having this session, somewhere or a group of people in parts of the world are experiencing one form of TFGBV or the other. So just as TFGBV doesn't take a break, we too should not also take a break from exercising our digital rights and online safety. Okay, Philomena is asking for, oh, okay, there's a conversation going on about the other genders. Okay, all right, great. So yeah, like I said, all other genders in this sense mean, in Nigeria we have the male or the masculine and the feminine gender, also known as the male and female. So other gender in this sense means other groups. So it means people that are lesbians, gay, bisexuals, transgender, queer people, and there's also the sign plus. So that's what LGBTQ plus means in full. Yeah. So that's what that means. So moving on. We're now moving on to the why part. Like, why does TFGBV happen? Why? What are the reasons? And we can see a list of reasons here. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is just like some of the outstanding reasons why it happens. There are also like many other reasons why it happens, but we can see from this that these are the major reasons why it happens. So we have gender and social norms when, like I'd explained about, I gave an instance of some societies not allowing the girl child to access education because they feel it's a waste of time and resources. That could also form the basis for why this form of gender-based violence online happens. There's also the case of revenge. There are some people that you may have heard of the statement revenge porn. Imagine, for instance, in the case of a relationship where a boy and a girl, they were going out, and then during that period, they did some freaky things. They took some pictures that ordinarily other people's eyes are not supposed to see. And then for some reason, they have a disagreement or they break up, and then the guy or the girl, because anyone could do it really, they now post pictures of the other person as a means of revenge, especially pornographic images of persons' naked bodies that we are not ordinarily supposed to see, and it's supposed to be confidential. So that's also a reason why TFGBV happens. And then there's also the factor of jealousy and anger, which is closely linked to revenge. There's also the reason for political agenda. Can recall when I said that TFGBV happens to everyone, even people in high places. So politicians, people that are aspiring for political opinion positions can also fall prey to this because of an agenda. And this is also linked to ideological agenda as well, where persons of certain ideology will want to backlash those that are opposing them for reasons best known to them. There's also the reason for sexual desire, when, let's say, someone is attracted to another person sexually and the other person is not interested, but then the person keeps on like stalking them, sending uncomfortable messages to them, stopping them online. That's also a basis for this form of violence happening. Also, money can also be involved. I mean, we know that saying of money being the root of all evil, right? Even though we still work to gain money in the end, but we know money has a good side, essentially, but then it also is the root of evil for a lot of bad things that happen. And this is, it's one of the bad things that is also linked to money. And then there's also the desire to maintain social status. So there have been cases of people who want to maintain a particular kind of status that deliberately perform one act or the other of gender-based violence in the online space in order to keep that position of power that they are in, so that people keep on being afraid of them or doing things according to their will. Okay, so moving on from the why, we also need to know why we need to be aware of our digital rights and take online safety serious. So for technology facilitated by gender-based violence or online gender-based violence is something that is very, very grave, something that has serious consequences. And in order to address this, we need to take measures to be aware of our digital rights and take online safety serious. So as you can see here, there are really a lot of reasons, but I've just singled out some for us to get familiar with. So it's needed to protect ourselves from discrimination, from maltreatment, from violation, and also to fully utilize the advantages of the internet. There are reports that show that some women have had to completely go off the internet because someone was stalking them or body shamed them or posted nude photos of them on the internet. And for that reason, can imagine the backlash that comes back at them. And I'm using just women as a class. It happens to men, it happens to other groups as well. But yes, because of what has happened to some people, they have taken a break from the internet. For some, they might never go back to the internet. They will rather have a touchlight phone. So far they are receiving calls and messages that is not linked to the internet, they are fine. And while there are others that's okay, they'll be off the internet for a period of time and then they come back online. So if we don't want to fall victim to that, or we don't want people around us or people that we know to be cut off from the internet simply because there was someone who performed one act of online gender-based violence or the other, it's good for us to know what our rights are in the online spaces and also take measures that would ensure that such is curbed or even fully eliminated. It's also good to be out, is also needed because we need to be aware of the dangers or the risk associated with internet that is unsecured. So we know that saying that information or knowledge is power. Like when you know something, when you know that something is wrong, you can take actionable steps to address that thing, to prevent it or even address it even if it happens. So for instance, now in Nigeria, even though we have a cyber crime act, which has been in place since like 2015, but to be honest, that is not being really implemented. And NGOs and also other bodies are like advocating for persons for the government to really take it serious because ordinarily a crime that happens on the internet is supposed to be taken as serious as a crime that happens in the physical space. So they shouldn't just look at it as, okay, fraud is the only crime that we need to arrest people for or bring them to court or judge. It should also be the same for sexual harassment. It should also be the same for defamation. It should also be the same for stalking or emotionally upsetting someone or mentally affecting someone's well-being because the person has been disturbed on the internet. So that's it. If we want to address this, we need to be informed. And we don't just need to be informed, we don't just need to be aware, but we also need to, it will also help us to take extra measures to secure valuable information from hackers, when you think of it in the financial space as well, from hackers, and not just financials, but also, kinds of personal information that needs to be kept, but some people disclose it when they get to know about it on the online space. So for instance, there was one story that happened. I don't think it's in Nigeria. I think it's another country. I can't remember the country, but there was a case of a top government official that his HIV status identity got exposed. He was known to be HIV positive. Someone had posted that online, and such news spread as wildfire. And then because of that, he lost his political position at the time because nobody wanted to be affiliated with him. So can imagine things like that happening. And if only if measures were taken to address such issues like that, it would have really gone a long way from preventing such from happening. And then also, lastly, a wide point to curb discriminatory or harmful gender practices, which is closely linked to the first reason that I stated. Okay, so we have covered the what, who, when, why, and now we're on to the how. So at this point, I'm going to be inviting us to play a game. It's going to be showing on my screen, but then we would all be answering like questions to that so that we can make this session as interactive as can be, and we can learn as well as we go, because I mean, this is an interactive session. So the name of the game is called Digital Safety. So it's essentially, it's a web application, and it was developed by a not-for-profit organization based in East Africa. I'm not sure, I think Uganda, but they're doing great work. And yeah, this is the site where you start to play the game. And I like it because it's not just fun, but it's also very informative. So you get to learn as you are having fun as well. So I'm just going to click on the start game part so that we can start the game. And then you select your preferred language. Would go with English. And then it has characters for you to choose from. So there's Gwete, there's Aisha, there's Dami. So you select whoever it is that you wish to go with. So I'll pick Dami. All right, so please confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen, Mr.
Okay,
Yeah, I can
great.
see it good now.
Okay, great. So please let's pay attention, because I'm going to be calling names for you to answer these questions that are going to be popping up as the game goes on. So the first says, Dami owns a thriving online wig business in Lagos. She gets a lot of buyers of referrals and testimonials from social media. She also has a large following on Instagram and Facebook. Then the next part says, Dami finds out that another business owner is using wig pictures from her site and passing them off as her own products. What do you think Dami should do? Okay, so it gives you a list of options to choose from. In this case, option 1 is to release a video insulting and calling out the other business. After all, she has a right one in this case. Then second option is to reach out to the other business and inquire about the issue. She should also be clear that she will take legal action if the business does not take her pictures down. Then option 3 is to take screenshots and post a buyer beware post on her business accounts. That would make sure that her clients are aware of the ongoing fraud. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to call on Philomena to respond to this question. Which of the options do you think we should take for Dami?
Okay, I think we should go with the second option.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we've chosen the second option, and this is what it brings to us. It says, oops, the business blocks her and she cannot reach them anymore. Now she can't see the pictures the business is posting. She had also not taken questions of the weeks in question. So
Wait.
now we have to find out what next. Okay, so while the message has been passed, Dami should have documented evidence of the fraud list. It helps to have receipts in case she wants to take legal action against other businesses. So you can see that from this option that you've picked, it doesn't just like tell you, oh, your response was correct or false, or no, it goes on to give you that, okay, so you've considered this path. What if it doesn't work for you? There are some of us here that might be into online businesses. What if, oh, you reached out to the person that is copying your business, or that is creating a fake account in your name, and then the person blocks you and you don't take any screenshots as evidence for that? How are you going to go ahead with that? So that's what this part has mentioned to us now. Telling us that we need to document evidence of the fraud first, even before reaching out to the person, just in case there's any issues like someone blocking you and you're not able to access the person again. Okay, so from there, it now helps you, like gives you a reason why you shouldn't, gives you reasons for taking the actions that is recommended. So it says here, as a business owner, it is important to be aware of what information is out there about your business. Number one, set up a Google business profile. This will help you control what information about your business is available and easily found via a Google search. Then number two, if you have a Google business profile, monitor the reviews left on your profile. If possible, engage reviewers by responding to their queries and providing information needed. So you can see it has given you a credible step to take when you're having issues, or even before you get to have those issues as a business owner. Then it also gives you an additional step of using social listening to monitor measures about your brand on social media platforms. This gives you the opportunity to track, analyze, and respond to conversations about your brand on social media. And then this game also has links. It also has like hyperlinks that takes you to other websites that gives you like very useful information on how to like practice online safety, specific online safety measures, and other related information. So this part that says here is a guide, you can see that the here is highlighted in blue and is underlined. That's a hyperlink that takes you, once you click on it, to another web page where you can get information. In this case, is a guide on social listening and what are the best social and what the best social listening tools are. So you can see it's really practical. It doesn't just give you scenarios that you answer questions to, but then afterwards it gives you like pragmatic actions that you can take, and also additional resources if needed. Okay, so there's another question now. Dami is in a circle with other business owners. As the treasurer, she receives money on her mobile money account. One afternoon, she gets a call from someone working from her mobile money service provider saying that there's a problem with her account. She does not remember having any such problem. The man on the line is asking for details like her ID number and mobile money password. What do you think Dami does? Okay, so I'd ask Khalid to take a jump on this one. Let me check if there are options. Okay, great. So option 1 is that the man knows so much about Dami's account to be lying. Dami gives him her ID number and mobile money password. He should be able to fix the problem with that information. Number 2, Dami hangs up. She has seen messages from her mobile service provider warning her of such calls from fraudulent people. She knows that her mobile service provider calls her through a specific number. And then number 3, Dami hangs up and immediately reaches out to her other circle members to warn them of the scam. She also decides to invite someone to talk to her circle about the importance of digital security during the next circle meeting. So, Khalid, what do you think Dami should do? I can't hear you. Your voice seems low, quite low.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, the third option, I think, is preferable.
Okay. All right, so we'll click on the third option and see where it leads us. Okay, great. So it says this is an important step. Dami should notify her trust circle of the incident, setting up a digital security training for her circle members would benefit them all. So it doesn't just say, okay, you should inform people about it, but also take extra steps by having a digital security training so that her fellow circle members won't fall prey to the scam that was about to happen to her. And then it also gives you like meaning to online terms that are important for you to know. So in this case, you can see farming, which is a form of online fraud involving malicious code and fraudulent websites. Cyber criminals install malicious code on your computer or server. The code automatically directs you to bogus websites without your knowledge or consent. And then it adds the source from which this definition came from, which is norton.com. So it also gives you information in the background saying ensure your security update is software is up to date. Okay, so okay, gives you another term as well. Social engineering is the act of tricking someone into divulging information or taking action, usually through technology. And still another term. Okay, a trust circle is your close group of friends and relatives. In this case, Dami's circle members are part of this trust circle. It makes them aware of potential scams. So you can see this game gives you, like, it really breaks it down to you. It doesn't just give you scenarios and profile solution, but then it also like really like breaks down the terms for you, both online and not so online terms, so that you be clear about everything and anything that's happening within this platform. Okay, so I think we can get on this scenario last, and then we'll move on to we'll continue with the session. So this reads that Dami restocks her wig store by ordering from a large sale vendor abroad. She is running out of stock and it is time to reorder a new batch. She is even interested in adding a new line of colorful wigs to her product line. As she is ordering, she notices that the vendor's website looks a little different this time. A lot of the links do not work, and there seems to be typos everywhere. Her antivirus is also flashing. What should she do? And we please feel free to also like comment in the chat box on your thoughts or responses regarding the scenario questions. So the first option to this question is that the antivirus flash software always flashes for no reason. It is really not that serious. she goes on, should go ahead to purchase her wigs. After all, she really needs to update her stock before clients start complaining. Option 2 reads that this is suspicious. Dami should double check if this is the correct website she shops from before putting in her order. And then option 3 says that typos are not a big deal. After all, not everyone knows how to spell. The website may also be going through some sort of update. Dami needs to go ahead and place her order. All right, so what do people think Dami should do following this question? Irene, what do you think?
Okay, so I'll go with option 2, suspicious. She should double check if the website is correct before she makes another order.
All right, great. Okay, let's see how that plays out there. And it says you are right. Dami should be suspicious of websites with typos and links that do not work. It should be a sign that she has been redirected to a fake site that would be used to collect her personal information like credit card details. If a trusted website looks different from what it normally does, it just might be a farmer's version of the website. As a regular online shopper, Dami should always click around to make sure all links work and that the website address does not have a typo. Then it goes on to give you like other definitions, like this one now. What is phishing? Okay, so phishing is a cybercrime in which a target or targets are contacted by email, telephone, or text message by someone posing as a legitimate institution to lure individuals into providing sensitive data such as personally identifiable information, banking, and credit card details and password. So it gives you the source from where this definition comes from. So basically what Dami had experienced going through a fake website is known as phishing, and also getting messages from persons that are not authentic is also known as phishing, and is a cybercrime which is punishable by law. So it's something that you could go to court to report that, okay, you have had a case of phishing, and the court should take action on that in accordance with the Cybercrime Act. So in line with that, it also gives you measures to take for you not to fall prey to phishing. And it says here that you should change the default password of your Wi-Fi router so that when a scammer tries to access your computer, the first place they check is the router. If the router still has the default password, your network is vulnerable to attack. So there are some of us that might be using routers or Wi-Fi, and then you see that, like, you see the sticker at the back of it saying, oh, Wi-Fi key is blah, blah, blah. Please try and check and change it. If you don't know how to change it, take it back to your service provider, might be MTN or other sites that you use, to request for it to be changed to a password that only you will know. And even if you're giving it to other people, it's in confidentiality. If possible, you should be the one to type it yourself on their devices so that they're not aware of it. So that way your Wi-Fi or your MiFi is secure. Then second point is that be aware of what websites you visit. Fraudulent websites can install malicious software or browser extensions on your computer that will modify the DNS cache. So what this is just saying is that be careful of the websites you visit, because there are some websites that as soon as you click on it, as soon as you open it, there's a virus that is automatically dropped into your system, and it spells for trouble. Your system is not going to be the same anymore until you find a way to address it. Then it also goes on to tell us that we should be careful of any emails that we open. An email attachment can contain malware, which is a kind of virus, and that could also affect our system. So it says always make sure that the email is from a trusted source. And there are some emails that email accounts that some email accounts that are also like they have antivirus packages that come with them. So for instance, now like for my Gmail, for my Google Mail, it comes with antivirus. So, or you could activate and install an antivirus on it. So that way, whatever email is coming to you, especially not from a trusted source, you could either take it to the spam folder and then request for you to make sure you check the email before you allow it into your inbox to be sure that it's cleared of viruses. Or you could just tell you outrightly that this email is an email that contains a kind of virus and would affect your account or your system, and then advises you to do away with it, and then you can do as advised. So I think we can just pause it here for now. Let's go back to the session, because this game, the interesting thing about this game is that you keep, I don't think I've ever finished this game to the end, because you keep on answering questions, and it's like a maze. You keep on playing for hours and you don't even realize it, but it's quite informative. So I'll just leave this space now. I'm going to copy the link and put it in the chat box so that we can continue playing at our own end after this session. Okay, so we're back to our slides, and we can see the how part after we have played that game. And again, all these points are not all the points having to do with this aspect of digital rights, TFGBV, and online safety. The list is inexhaustible, so I just picked out the ones that are most relevant for this session. You can always explore on more reasons for these concepts. You could always read up on them. And the slides that I'll be sharing at the end of the session also has like links to resources that you could use to further read up on these concepts. So first off, how can we exercise digital rights? We can see that the first point is to pay attention and participate in governance and policy making. So as young people, we have an important role to play. Can recall that I mentioned about the Cybercrime Act that we have in Nigeria that is not really taking effect because the government is not exercising that willpower that it should for it to be fully implemented. So we as young people, we should be very active in pushing that the government takes such kind of acts seriously, such kind of laws seriously. We are actually supposed to have a digital rights policy, on an online safety policy, but at the moment, we don't have that, and groups that are focused on such are pressing for the government to implement such, and then there's this back and forth going on. So if we as young people could join them and advocate in having such kind of things, not just set up, because it's one thing to have a lot of policies. Like Nigeria as a country, I can't even count the amount of policies we have, the amount of bills, the amount of laws. We have it. It's the putting it into action, the taking it seriously that is the problem. So if we can really, really press the government's neck that, see, you people would need to respond to these issues and do the needful, I believe that they will eventually give in. it might take some time, but eventually it will happen. Then flowing from that, there's also the aspect of reading and exercising to respect rights. So like I said, information is power. When you read up on these things and when you don't just read, you practice them. That's what the exercise means. In practicing, you also get to respect people's rights online, the rights to express oneself freely. And by the way, that statement of Simi's child, yes, it's a freedom of expression, but it's like saying, it's like coming to meet, excuse me, it's like coming to meet someone in person and just telling them you're stupid and nothing even happened before then. Even if something happened, you outrightly telling someone you're stupid is not a cool thing to do. And yes, you're expressing yourself, but you need to put caution to that. So that's what it means. Also another thing how we can practice digital rights is to be conscious of our interactions and digital security. So we can see from the game, a little bit of the game that we played, we saw how Dami was conscious about giving someone her personal details, taking measures to ensure that her security online is kept safe, and also engaging with the person in a very safe manner in order not to blow things out of proportion. And then also building on reading, there's a need to always learn because the internet is not stagnant. Like there are lots of things now that we have now or is about to come that wasn't here like even up until last year, even 6 months. There's news that the iPhone 14 will be coming out pretty soon. You can imagine how we're not yet done with the first iPhone. We're already seeing the 14th version of the iPhone. So it's crazy, really. So for you to constantly evolve with how the internet is changing at an exponential rate, you also have to keep up your game of learning at every time and place. Then there's also the need for us to use all available tools and resources. Don't limit yourself to just one, for instance, to just this slide. If I share this slide, please, in addition to going through the slide, there's a part of resources that you could also check. And even beyond that resources slide, you can also like Google is your friend. Search up on Google on digital rights, on online safety, on TFGBV or OGBV, that's online gender-based violence, to be able to know more and also be more aware of what your rights are, how to keep yourself safe online, and how to identify and address online gender-based violence. And then there's also the need for us to connect and to collaborate with digital rights associations or organizations. This links to my first point of participating in governance and policy making. Any like organizations that you see advocating for digital rights, for online safety, and speaking out against OGBV, please be a part of them. It's not even something that you have to be there in person. Like for instance, now I'm a part of a leading digital rights organization called Paradigm Initiative. They are not just based in Nigeria, they're based in other countries across Africa, and they're really pressing for the laws having to do with digital rights, online safety, and also speaking out against online gender-based violence. And then spread the word, just the way I'm spreading the word to people. You too should also spread the word to your colleagues, to people around you, so that the more awareness that is there, the more people are informed, the more people are aware, the more people are able to do better. So moving on from that, we also have to take measures for TFGBV. And one of it is activating the two-factor authentication or security on your devices. So there are, especially for like websites or social media platforms, or even our phones, our systems, there are some sites that ask you, oh, for instance, now for me, for my Gmail, I have this two-factor authentication on. So what it basically does is that if I'm signing on to a new device and it asks for my password, I put in my password. That's the first factor, right? And then it doesn't just accept my password. It's going to be like, okay, the next step before I finally allow you pass the gate into the compound where Sarah's Gmail is situated. You would also have to verify the code that I'm going to send to Sarah's phone. So can you imagine someone that is trying to hack into my system? The person doesn't have my phone, the person doesn't have access to my phone. And that code is sent only to my phone. So it's only me, unless if I know the person, I can call the person and say, oh, 91 is the number that is showing on my screen. So that's the number that you put on the page that is requesting for authentication. That way, it helps to really curb issues having to do with online safety and related issues as well. And then regularly update your operating systems. It's good to do so because as you update your operating systems for your phones, for your laptops, for other devices, that also upgrades the protection that your devices are having. Remember what I said about the internet or even technology in whole, like really growing at a fast rate. So viruses that have been designed maybe in 2010, 2011, and are operating can be quite different from what we have now in 2022. So your system has to be like up to date so that it will be really strong to address such kind of enemies that comes this way. Then also use licensed software and activate your firewall. So this licensed software, it just means like, for instance, if you're using like Microsoft Office, it should be one that is not the photocopy version. It should be the real version that doesn't come with viruses, so that if it gets like a copied version that is not so safe, it could bring in viruses. And then activating your firewall. Firewall is just another fancy term for like your guard, like your gates, like your protective gate to your especially systems. So when you see firewall, the word firewall, it relates more to your systems than phone. That's your laptops by what I mean. So there's a part on how to activate your firewall. If you don't know how to do that, just search up online and then it will give you a step-by-step guide. So the next step is to use webcam cover or tape to cover your webcam when it is not in use. So before this session started, I had my camera, the parts where my camera shows the webcam covered, and then for this session alone, I've left it open, and then afterwards I'll close it. Reason for that is that technology is so crazy right now, because someone can just log into your system remotely from another place and access your camera, access any part of your system without you being aware. So can imagine if let's say I'm doing something sensitive and then someone is trying to stalk me or watch me, and then they can access my camera and they're seeing everything I'm doing, where I am, and I have no idea. And then later on, the person saves that kind of view that they've seen, and then they use it to blackmail me later, or to do revenge porn or something. It's quite scary. But then that's why the reason why we need to take more measures to like really be proactive in keeping ourselves safe. So yeah, install a strong antivirus software. I think I've touched on it, so I wouldn't go on it again. Then create strong passwords and keep them safe. Please, if you are using your date of birth or your favorite color or the town you came from, don't just use that. Also mix it with words. Those are basically words, right? Also mix it with numbers, with special characters. Yeah, numbers and special characters. And let it be a minimum of 8 characters. Any password that you have that is less than 8 characters is not a strong password. A standard password is 8 characters. And then if you want it to even be more stronger, it's above 8 characters. So let your passwords be those kind of passwords that will keep people guessing, and they'll get tired eventually and don't want to hack you anymore. Then lastly, report any case of TFGBV online and to relevant authorities. So for organizations like Paradigm Initiative, they have a reporting app which you can report cases of maybe say gender-based violence or online safety or people that have been affected one way or the other online. They have an app called I think reporty.org. Let me just put in the chat box Paradigm Initiative. So just Google Paradigm Initiative and then you'll be able to get information on the reporting platform and other things that they have to offer. And even for my organization, because we leverage both like policy and technology, we also have an app for persons to report cases of, let's say, either sexual harassment or a form of online gender-based violence, or even something that happened on campuses physically, it's not just online. We call it the Campus Power app. I'm also putting that in the chat box. You could also check it up. So it's available on Google Play Store and iOS Apple Store as well. So please check it up. And yeah, it's not just that. And the good thing about the Campus Power app is that it's not just for reporting of cases. You could also like use it to like chat with other people that is on the app. You could use it to like watch like resource and read up on resources. So it has like a space for policies, for webinars, uploaded webinars, for written and visual resources up there. It has a range of features that I would love you to check out. So check out the Campus Power app as well. Highly recommended. Okay, so we're rounding up. I promise you, I believe this session has taken quite long. So before we go, I just want us to like respond to some questions before we call it a wrap. So I'm not sure of how we want to do this, but I don't know if I should do the usual thing of name calling or people would want to offer to respond to any question on their own will. Would anyone want to like respond to any of the questions, or do I have to call out? Which one are we going with? Okay. The place is quiet, so it seems like I have to go with the name calling. Alrighty. So I'm starting with Khalid. Khalid, what have you learned from this session? What are your thoughts?
Usually I knew that. Usually I knew that suggested.
I can't hear you.
What then? Can you hear me now?
Okay, it's clearer now. I can hear you now.
All right. What have I learned from this session? A lot of takeaways, but then I'll just highlight one thing, which is that in as much as technology is fast evolving, you also need to be very much aware of the risk that comes with it, and then also be aware of how to hedge this risk individually and as an organization, more of where you work and the people you deal with. That's it for me.
All right. Thank you for that very succinct response. Like it really captures a lot, if not everything. Okay. All right. So the next question goes to Aditayo Adebowale. Any links between learnings, app use, and social media? So what I mean by this is that from this session that has happened now on digital rights, on online safety, on online gender-based violence, do you see any relationship between that and the apps that you use, or the social media, or even any web platform? Do you see anything connected to it?
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Good afternoon. Though I joined in late, but from what I've been able to pick, there are links. There are links between learnings, apps used, and the social media, because social media can give you links to click on, which can lead you to another place entirely. While doing something serious on YouTube or doing something, there can be pop-up, and one way or the other, we need to guide ourselves while learning on the internet to know the type of app that we use and to protect ourselves against all these hackers and all. So as far as internet is involved, there will always be link between all what we have learned and the app that we use and the social media that we are always on. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tayo. That is much appreciated. Yeah, you really captured it, so thank you. So next question goes to Isa. Isa, do you think this session was relevant? If you think so, then why? What's your reason for you thinking that this session was relevant?
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Well, I think the session is relevant because it covers things that happens in reality. If you started this session from the beginning, you get to know, like your first slide, you're talking about a particular technique that can be used in solving problems. When you talk about the 5W1H, I think it's a very important technique. And if internet and social media, which is what we use every day in our life. Like currently, most of us came to this program via a link that was shared on social media. So I think it's very relevant and it's important as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Isa. Okay, I was about to call Philomena, but it seems like she ran away because I can't see her here anymore. Or maybe she's having network issues. Okay, so the last question goes to, okay, she's back. I think she's trying to connect. Let's just give her a moment. Okay, Philomena, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I was logged out.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so this question is for you. What digital actions are you going to practice henceforth?
Okay. So I think from the game that we played and the scenario where Dami was meant to order her wigs and then discovered spelling errors and all. So I think from today onward, I have to check. I'm going to be checking any link. I'm going to click very well in order to avoid what we
Philomena, we can't hear you. Seems like your audio has taken a stroll. Okay, seems like she's having connection issues. All right, that's fine. If you can still speak, that's fine. If not, Philomena, just leave a chat just leave a message in the chat section. And for every other person as well, you could share your thoughts in the chat box as well. So this brings me to the last part. So do we have any questions? Do we have any contributions? Mr. Daytopia, you must contribute since there's no specific question for you here. But for everyone else, it's an open floor. Questions, contributions are very much welcome.
Thank you very much. I think, sorry if I can, right. Thank you very much. I think my takeaways, I think, two main takeaways here. And it's a really good session because, the fact that we think there's a thin line between freedom of expression and, technology is a facilitated gender-based violence. So there's like the one you showed us, the semi-tweet. You can think you are saying something because you have the freedom of speech or freedom to express yourself, but meanwhile, you need to consider that that tweet might have a negative impact on someone's mental health, or you are even posing a threat. That person, I believe, is posing a threat to a child, to Simi and a family. We can say a lot of things that just, well, what do they call it? What's that word again? Cruise. You can say a lot of things that you are catching cruise, but but you still have to consider that these are people. We are talking about the emotions of other people. So we just need to be careful of that. Another one I found very interesting is, phishing mails and social engineering really, and a lot of us fall victim, and it's just because we are not aware enough about all these things that we need to do. And I love the game. The game really teaches. I'm going to go play the game a bit more because I love games that are informative, entertaining and informative at the same time. So I love the game. So, and the last one is the initial part you shared with us, which Isa already mentioned, how to approach things in life, the 5 Ws and 1 H. And I think a lot of times, if you have a structure to approach things, it will be easier for you to get a solution rather than just being clumsy with the whole thing. So it's a really good session, and thank you very much. That's my contribution.
You're very welcome. Thank you all for staying to the end of this session. And then I just want to build on what you had said regarding freedom of expression, and also the implication it has even if the person is catching cruise. Well, we've seen instances where people post things like years ago. They've even forgotten that they've posted things. I think the most recent I saw was I think one ancient, I can't remember the year, but one, I call it ancient because it's so many years ago, where Tinubu said something about Nigeria, like Nigeria will not stand, or Nigeria will fall, something negative. And then now he's contesting for presidency, and people went as far back to go and bring up that statement to say, see somebody that said Nigeria will be nothing by now. The person is coming to contest. Like, that just shows that digital footprints, which is a term used to classify whatever it is that you do, the mark you made or the mark you leave in the digital space, it never leaves. Like, no one forgets on the internet. Like, people can forget in real life, but the internet is forever. People can go back and bring up things that you yourself you've forgotten. In fact, you can swear to yourself that you are not the one that did it. But, well, when no evidence points to that, how are you going to defend it? So we really have to be mindful of what we post online, what we do online, because it could come back to us in ways that we least expect. So thanks for highlighting that. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so Philomena is dropping in some messages. Oh, okay. She said she doesn't know if we heard well, we heard part of what you said. I'm not sure how much you said afterwards, but at least I heard part of it. And then, sorry for your data getting exhausted. Maybe your mentor, Dr. Daytopia, can do something about that. I'm just saying, I don't know. So sorry to hear that. Okay. I think this is it for now. These are the resources that I've mentioned, I've spoken about. So we can see the Cyber Crimes Act that I had spoken about. There's also a brief that gives more insights on digital rights. There's one that gives more insight on TFGBV. There's the Internet Code of Practice by NIBDA, which interestingly came up this year, and we had conversations about it. I recall being invited to speak at an event that was hosted by the Frederick Espon, which is like a Germany-Nigerian organization that's into like youth-related issues and policy-related issues and digital issues as well. Just like a roundtable session where we really like spoke about, okay, so what's this Internet Code of Practice by NIDA, by the way, is National Institute of Technology Development Agency. They're like the government arm that safeguards the practice of internet and technology related affairs in Nigeria. They're different from the NCC because NCC has to do with like general communications, that's the Nigerian Communications Corporation. NIDA is different. There's also the African Charter Declaration on Freedom of Expression and Address and Access. So that one is, if you want to look at it wider in the African space, if you want to go beyond Nigeria. There's also the African Declaration on Internet Rights and Freedoms. Then if you want to go beyond Africa, there's the UN Resolution on Human Rights on the Internet. So yeah, the world is your oyster, really. There are so many resources out there. If you just type on Google digital rights, online safety, or TFGBV, or online gender-based violence, you're going to see so many search results that are inexhaustible. So, like I said, the slides are going to be shared with Mr. Daytopia, who is going to share it in turn with you all. So that's it for me. If we still have any questions, any areas for clarifications, any comments, I'm happy to respond to that, even beyond this session. So yeah, thank you for having me. And thank you for being my audience. Thank you for those that stayed from start to beginning. You people deserve a cold bottle of drink. I don't know how you're going to get it, but you're going to get it. So yeah, that's it from my end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sarah. Really appreciate this session. Do we have any other questions, any other contributions? It's been a really good session, to be honest.
Thank you.
Okay. In the absence of any question, thank you so much, guys, for coming in today, and I'll see you guys again very soon. And if you are in the competition that is coming up in October, I hope you are preparing gradually. Okay, guys. Thank you so much, Sarah, for today. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Khalid, Issa, Philomena, and everyone. Mr. Adetayo, thank you. I'll see you guys again soon. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a lovely weekend.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Have a lovely
Bye.
weekend.